Today our group will talk about female serial killers. My group members are me, Hawaii, Sarah, Shah, Claire, and Jaylin. So to start out with, I won't talk about what serial killer is as the last group has talked about it. So I would like to ask, does anyone know what a black widow is? Anyone? No? Thank you. Oh. No?
She's hot.
So if you want to know what a black widow is, please focus on our presentation and you will know more about it. Thank you. I will pass on to Sarah.
So there are differences between male and female serial killers. It can be divided into three aspects, which is how they choose their victim, their motive, and their method of killing. Based on how they choose their victim, it could be related to thousands of years of evolution. So men typically will hunt for their prey, while female use to gather financial resources around them. So they typically hunt for people around them, such as their acquaintance, their spouse, and their children. And female are also more nurturing, so they tend to gather the prey from those who lower down their inhibitions and kill those around them, such as a case which is in America where the nurse killed the patient by putting poison inside their IV bag. Then the next one is their motive of killing. Male kill for sexual satisfaction, but female kill for financial gain. And in terms of method of killing, women typically use poison because they have lower strength compared to male, and they would not stalk their victim but let the male come to their house instead, and as it gives them an advantage over the man. So the reason why there's less cases of women being serial killers compared to men is based on how the media portrays female serial killers. So female are usually underestimated by society to be more caring, more nurturing, so they are less of a suspect when it comes to these crimes. Based on how newspaper reports female serial killers, they give them nicknames based on their gender, such as Jolly Jane, but male serial killers are given based on the crimes that they committed, such as the Arkansas City Slasher and stuff like that. Next, I'll pass on to Jaylin for the first female serial killer.
So the first female serial killer is known as Lavinia Fisher. Next. So this is her, and next. Lavinia Fisher is the first female serial killer, which is born in the United States in 1793. He married a man named John Fisher, and they live in Charleston, South California. They make a living by having a hotel named 6 Mile Wayfarer House. And Lavinia is known as to be very beautiful, charming, and popular in the community because of her hotel. And Lavinia Fisher helps her husband rob and kill male travelers. Where, who, what, and how does she commit this serial killing? It all happens in the hotel where she owns, and there is a hidden basement in one of the rooms in the hotel where she will lure the male travelers and would invite them for tea at the one of the receptionists, like one of the areas there, and would sometimes lie to them saying, oh, there's no room yet, so you can try this tea. And in the tea, there are, like, it's mixed with sleeping pills or things like that, which will make the male travelers like fall asleep, and they will move them into a room. Okay, and then before she was executed, she died from hanging, like she got hanged to death. She requested to be in her wedding dress, and before she died, she said, if you have a message you want to send to hell, give it to me, I'll carry it. And according to what I read, people there were saying like how she looked like a witch before she died, and she jumped off herself and she was hanged to death. However, she was not charged for murder. I don't know why. After a few years, there were people still looking at Lavinia Fisher, like her soul was still around the jail in Charleston, where they would see her roaming around or sometimes see her face behind the bars of the window where she was held. And there are times where people said that they would see her body wandering around the neighborhood. And the Charleston jail is available for visiting now. It's still available, but there are certain circumstances where you have to go through before visiting the jail. Moving on to Claire.
So now I'll be introducing you to female serial killer with most kills. So this is Countess Elizabeth Bathory, with the most kills that people estimate that she actually killed like 600 people. And she's born in Transylvania as a Hungarian person, and born in a very privileged family. And she was instructed in Satanism by her uncle and also witchcraft by her aunt. And at the age of 15, she was married to this man called Fenech Nedesty, who also has similar characteristic as her, and she owns 5 children before Fernek died of illness. So how the brutal nature begins? It all begins in the year of 1602 that she was said to have suffered from fits and outbursts of rage and also epilepsy. And because of her childhood that she always see her father torturing all the servants, and the husband also taught her how to torture people. So there are some methods of torturing and killings that she has been practicing. So she will always conduct hot pokers, needles under fingernails and stitching mouths shut, and she loves to cover village in honey and watching as insects and animals devour them. And she always force victims to cook and eat their own flesh, and stand in a bucket of ice outside until they froze to death, starvation and poisoning. And on one occasion, having a gypsy man sawn up into the belly of a dead horse. And she enjoyed bathing in the blood very much because people think that she is a vampire because she loves to drink people's blood to keep her skin young. So what happened in the end is that at the trial, 300 witnesses were more happy than to testify against her, and there is no exact number of how many victims she has killed. So rumors said that she actually keep a record of the victims, but it's never found. And the official death is 80%, and she was house arrest for only 4 years, and she died after that in a prison cell. And she was buried in a church at first, but people around her protest against it, and then she was end up in the castle. Yeah, so now I'll pass it to Shah.
So now we finally get to the earlier point of what is a Black Widow. Now we all know Black Widow as the spider, as the character, but Black Widow is actually a term used for a specific type of female serial killer, and that is a person that murders 2 or more of their lovers or husbands. So these are the Black Widows throughout history. The first Black Widow will sound a bit familiar for those Marvel fans. Vera Renzi. She's from Romania and she has 32 victims, including 2 husbands and a son. She usually killed with arsenic, and this happened in 1946. And I'll come back to why she reminds you of someone later. Chisako Kakeli, she's from Japan. She had 10 victims. She actually admitted to a crime but then claimed dementia. And she used to murder victims with cyanide, and that was in 2007. Amy Archer Gilligan, America, 48 victims, and she owned a nursing home that was later called the Murder Factory because of how many of her patients she killed with arsenic, claiming it was rat poison. And this was in 1911. And finally, Mary Elizabeth Wilson, England. She only had 4 victims, but she is very popular because of her name as the Merry Widow of Windy Nook, and she used beetle poison, and this was in 1955. This is because even when she was having her interviews after her arrest, she actually giggled and she was laughing about it. Next. These are representations in media, which I think is very important because how we view serial killers is how they show it to us. So these are movies based off of these serial killers, and one that you can see, Black Widow is not a perfect representation, but it does have a lot of parallels. For example, like she's from Romania, situations of Bucharest, and the fact that mysterious background, etc. Next.
So to conclude it, female serial killers are as notorious as male serial killers. The only difference is that the way they hunt their victims is that they lure their victims into the trap. And I want you to know that Black Widow is not only the female Marvel Avengers, but she's a female serial killer as well. So thank you. This is our presentation.